All right, you all asked for it, or at least enough of you asked for it, that we're going to deliver. We did a video a while back while we were still up in Pahrump with just a fun video with a $5 vintage thrift store camera right there. This old Vivitar. I don't think it was very expensive to start with. We picked it up for $5 at a thrift store. I had to do a little cleaning because the battery terminals were corroded and everything. We had some fun with it, shooting some photos and even a few video clips around Pahrump. So I kind of was harassing Melanie, said, let us know if you want to see Melanie take it out and do some photos. And a fair number of you said yes over time now. So we're going to do it. Now, Melanie's been playing with it a little bit, taking a few photos here and there. She's never actually seen any of those photos. We haven't taken them off the phone yet, off the camera yet. And this is a little tiny LCD screen and it's not that high a resolution. So you can't really tell much on there if the pictures are what they're like. So we're going to go out today, wander around the desert here in Quartzsite. Melanie's going to take some photos. She's going to tell you what she likes about the scenes that she's attempting to photograph with this $5 thrift store vintage camera. And we're just going to have fun. So here we go. First, we'll show you some of the ones she's already taken. And then we're going to dive into this adventure wandering around the desert. Usually, we're turning the tables, because usually she's filming me while I'm trying to take pictures. So we're turning the tables. She probably would prefer I let her take the Sony a6000, but we're having fun with the vintage thrift store camera. And when we're done with it, this is going to one of my granddaughters for her birthday, getting shipped out to Wyoming this week, because she wants the camera, and I think she'll have a lot of fun with it. And Melanie's already telling me I need to get her another camera because she doesn't want to let this little Vivitar go. So, here we go, guys.
So I'm seeing these cactus over here, and they look pretty cool. And I know this camera's pretty good at, not so much good at color, but it does get forms and stuff. So I don't know, there looks like a bunch of them together, so they look kind of cool. So I'm gonna go check them out.
So this right here is kind of an interesting illustration that maybe I haven't talked about much before. This is one of those things we do. We're just out strolling around the desert looking for interesting things. And we're just wandering oftentimes or strolling, and you might see something over in the distance and say, hey, that looks interesting. I wonder what that's about. Or is that a splash of color on that tree? That looks like it's got flowers on it. Or what on earth is that going on over there? So we just wander around and find things. Sometimes you find some really cool stuff, like these cool cactus here that Melanie just stopped to photograph.
The cool part is it also has its nursery tree right by it. Sometimes those are dead by the time these cactus get so tall and big, but its nursery tree is still there, and that's the tree it originally grew under, and it shades the swallows until they can get big enough and tough enough to really withstand the sun.
And that's something we see a lot in the desert, and we've seen that as the only thing. We've seen several occasions recently, just right here in this area of desert, where you see a tree collapsed, and you know the nursery tree is dead, but you can see the plant that it sheltered for a certain amount of time, you know, until it got going. So it's kind of cool, very interesting.
So this is a younger swallow. You can tell it's still under the shade of its nursery tree, and it doesn't have any branches. Most swallow don't get their branches till they're about 50 to 70 years old, and so this is comparatively a baby swallow. But I don't know. And there's this funky, I guess this would be an ironwood or something in the front. So I see this wash, and I'm just gonna go over, explore it, see what's there. I can already see the brittle bush coming into bloom here. So I'm gonna see if I can take some flowers. I'm not sure. Like I said, the color sometimes looks like it's a little off on it. But, yeah, vintage, right? So vintage means really bad color, I think. I found a clump of these the other day. Oh, there's even a bee. I wonder if I can get a bee. Probably not. I know you can't get too close with this thing. There's a bee there. He's got pollen stuck on his back legs, a bunch of it, so he's doing his job.
It's a weird bee. He's got these orange things on him.
The orange is the pollen, babe.
Huh?
The orange is the pollen on his back legs.
Really?
That's pollen. Yeah, that's how they transfer the pollen.
I didn't know that.
So the bee will transfer pollen from one flower to another, and it'll sip out the sweet nectar in the center of the flower, but while doing so, its back legs usually get covered with pollen, and it carries that pollen then from flower to flower as it goes feeding. So that's how it pollinates one flower to the next, and how the plant eventually makes a seed and creates new, in this case, brittle bushes. So
who knew? I had no idea. I'm looking at the bee going, what's with this orange thing on its back? What's up with this? Wait, it's got two orange things on it. What's going on? She had to school me.
So I don't know where I'm going. I'm just kind of wandering right now. So I'll figure out if I see something that strikes me there. Take a picture of.
There's some basalt.
So let's see. The green one, I think, is actually sandstone.
Whoops.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
There's some sandstone.
They come in different colors: gray, green, red. All sorts of different colors.
I know the red from Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're usually the smoother stones. If you see them out here, Sometimes they look almost like river rock because they're so smooth by sand in the wind, or if there is water. Sometimes you'll see them more in the washes. They're really smooth. So
my rock hounding skills are so amateur. I don't think you can even call me an amateur.
Well, so is mine.
I'm trying to learn, but I thought I was being all slick and recognized the basalt stone, but
yeah,
it's sandstone. Whoops.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing a video soon, guys, sharing some of the apps we use to help school us on things.
Yeah, something like this might be kind of more of a basalt. It's got almost a reflective quality to it, and it's very thin, like it's almost shale-like. So that's molten lava that freezes or solidifies very quickly, and it becomes basalt. So anyways, walking along, and out here you can actually find crystals that are clear, and these are actual quartz, clear quartz. This one just on the ground, and I saw, and it's a little pinky, almost orangey tinged, but I don't know if you can get a macro on that and pick it up, but you can actually see the flat sides to it, and that's an actual crystal. That was probably part of a much bigger clump, but yeah. So those are kind of neat. Yeah. Anyways, we'll leave this on the ground for the next hiker to find. Cherish. I'm interested in this over here because it's kind of got all its spikiness. It's fallen off. It's kind of an old dead, I would say it's a cholla. But I love the stems and how many holes it has in it, and it gives you that sense that it's like a sponge. So it's when it was living, that's those little cavities or whatever, they would expand and they'd get smaller actually because it would swell up probably with water. But I'm thinking this is a cholla, or was a cholla, and I don't know, it's kind of neat. So I'm gonna take a picture. You know I want to put my finger in it. which means there might be a critter.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? There might be a critter that bites me, but you know, it's all in the name of science here, right? So that's really cool. I love that textures thing. See, on your phone, I'd get a close-up macro of this because I just love textural photos, so it's just so cool. In this thing, because I think I'd have to get too close to it, but
yeah, that camera does not have very close focusing.
Yeah.
It has a macro switch that gets it a little closer, but yeah, it doesn't focus close at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know, we did not buy that camera thinking we were going to get amazing quality out of it. We bought it just for fun.
Yeah.
To see what we could do with a $5 vintage thrift store camera. So it doesn't do much, but it's fun anyways. Maybe precisely because it does not do much.
Right.
One of my projects for very soon is I'm going to be picking up a instant film camera. We all played with them back in the 70s, 80s, whatever. They're making a resurgence, and again, you do not get even iPhone quality photos out of these things. You don't get 35mm quality photos, but it's a different experience. They have a certain look, and it's just fun because you can instantly print a photo, and it's a one of a kind. You know, I take a photo with my phone or with my Sony mirrorless, and I can, you know, distribute it all over the internet just about instantly and print endless copies, and you know, an instant one is an instant. It's only one of them. So again, I'm not going to be getting that because it's better than anything else I have. It's somewhat limited, but it's kind of cool. And that was kind of the thing with this was we knew it was going to be limited, and we thought it might be cool to play with it anyways, and you know, just to see what it could do and how far technology's come. in however many years since this thing was made, and it has come a long ways since this thing was made, but it's still fun.
I don't know. Are people interested in ants? Anyways, so I came across this anthill. I did read a little bit about some of these ants. If you can look around the outside of this anthill, it has all this like vegetative matter. So I would say these are probably what they call harvester ants, and they'll go out and get little pieces of debris from plant debris and all, and they'll go and I guess they feed off of it, whatever, and this is the leftovers. Anyways, they'll put it outside of their home here. But they're very active today. It's a warm day, and they're going somewhere. Sometimes you can find them and you can see where they're harvesting from. But yeah, best any kind of ants you see in the desert, kind of stay away from them, because some of them do have nasty bites. Give you nasty bites. You ask me how I know. So yeah, you just kind of leave them be. And so they're busy at work.
Again, who knew?
Well, don't step on the critters.
I better watch where I'm stepping. I guess leave no trace and all that stuff includes not squishing ants and leaving them on the desert floor, right? I'm sure somebody will eat them if it's not another ant than a bird or something. But still, I do try not to squish critters unnecessarily. But they're all over the place, so it's hard to know.
You have too much footage to edit here. So anyways, I kind of see this cool ironwood tree in the distance. And I love the trunks of ironwood trees. They have these forms and gnarls, and they grow very, very densely and very slowly here in the desert because there are such little water. And they get their name ironwood because their wood is heavy, to the point that unlike most wood that actually floats in water, this wood actually sinks. So if you're ever caught in a flash flood, not that most of us hopefully will not be, but you have to be careful, because underneath all that murky water, it may look like it's just water, but there could be huge branches of ironwood, and because they will ride on the bottom of a flash flood and can take out a lot of debris, and including you. So anyways, go check it out.
Fascinating. And I do love ironwood trees. I think they're my favorite tree in the desert. They're really, really cool.
Yeah, between that and the Palo Verdes, because I love a Palo Verde too.
Well, Palo Verdes are cool too. Who doesn't love a green tree?
But
I don't mean green leaves. I mean green bark and everything.
Green bark and
if you're a Yankee,
everything,
and you see your first Palo Verde tree, it's kind of a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah, I remember thinking, what is this?
Exactly.
Crazy. But I think they lose their leaves, right? And so their bark
They
actually
drop their leaves so they can.
Their bark actually does all the photosynthesis then, and so they stay alive through their bark. So that's chlorophyll in their bark that actually works to feed them. Anyways, of course the hard part is trying to figure out how to get over there. I'm gonna lose Robert in the bushes here, the creosote bushes.
Yeah, these are creosote bushes. These are interesting. These plants grow. A lot of the desert plants here grow very narrow elevation bands or soil conditions up. These creosote will grow from about sea level up to, I think, around 4,000 feet. So you see them here, you see them in Pahrump, and you don't see that with a lot of the other desert plants, which is cool. But when the fascinating thing about creosote, well, there's a bunch of fascinating things. We'll talk about more in other videos. When it rains, oh goodness, the desert comes alive with a fragrance from creosote.
Yeah, and if you're ever wondering what it smells like, you can kind of cup your hands around some branches and just blow on them. And the moisture from your breath will actually release that smell. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you can actually smell the tree. And a nice thing about creosote is it doesn't have spiny things on it, but do look for bugs because you don't want one of those jumping out at you as you're blowing on
It
it.
does also have these funky branches that look like a dang snake
Oh,
when you
yeah.
catch sight of them in the desert out of the corner of your eye. So
Yeah.
they'll get your attention.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll talk a lot more about creosote in other videos because they're, like everything else in the desert, it's fascinating. The fact that anything survives here is fascinating.
It's fascinating.
Frankly.
Ah. So there's a bunch of really cool ones. All right. Look where you're stepping.
Ouch.
Look where you're stepping.
Oh, that's not a creosote. I thought it was a creosote I was walking by. This is a different one. I forget the name of it again already. I just found it last night. This thing has lots of spiky thorns on it, and it just grabbed me in the knee when I was pushing through it down here.
Oh, yeah.
It was not a creosote like I
Now
thought
I'm
it
trying to
was.
remember what you did look that up last night.
I would look it up, but I'm using my phone.
I know.
So this is one of the ironwood trees Melanie was looking at. Isn't this thing cool? These things are, I just love them. They are so wild. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer here while Melanie's figuring out what picture she wants to take. And they're also, you see all this debris around the bottom? This is on the edge of a wash, and when this wash floods, this debris is all carried down from upstream. And like Melanie was talking about trees and stuff, and it's no joke when these things flood. And it'll carry you away, and every year in the desert, people literally get swept away because they're in a wash, or they're camped in a wash, or they're parked in a wash, and they get swept away. Here's the problem. It doesn't have to be raining where you are. It can be raining 10 miles away, and you're going to get swept away. You don't know till it happens. So just be really, really careful in washes. And anyway, they just got these cool, they grow so slow, and they've just got these fascinating, I guess you'd call them burls, or is that just on other trees?
No,
but they're like these gnarly spots. And I just love these trees. I mean, they are so cool. All you woodworkers, boy, just imagine what this wood looks like inside. Probably harder than heck to cut or anything, but it's got to be fascinating. If you can get it planed, there's got to be some fascinating texture.
Yeah.
All right, what'd you find to take a picture of?
Well, there's a couple of things that stand out to me right now, so I kind of want to like look up because I just think that's so cool with the sky. And
I don't do that too often. Every once in a while.
And so I'm going to try to find a safe spot to sit here and not get stickered.
Yeah, I'm going to try and set it back up safely without tripping over anything, because the ground here, guys, is horrifying.
So I think this thing turned off, so let's turn it back on.
Don't pull on it too hard. I don't want it coming down on your head or something.
See, it's all about position.
She has better balance than I do, obviously, because I'd be face down in that pile of branches by now.
And, of course, I have my glasses on, so I can't see anything.
Yes, every photographer knows this pain. Suddenly you can't see because your glasses are the wrong prescription.
All right, I don't know if this is going to come out or not, but I just thought it was cool. It's kind of like a half dead, half living. So I kind of like that. And I like this burl over here. I have a tendency to see faces and things. And I see this old guy here. He's got an eye and a nose. So this is kind of an old guy. So I kind of like that. See the eye, nose, kind of nose. And, yeah. So he's just chilling. Yeah. Anyways, cool tree. Makes me want to climb it, but you know.
My youngest son would climb it. He's almost 30 now, but I have more photos of him in a tree than anywhere else.
All right, I'm going to take another one just looking up here because I think that's so cool right there. Because that's just like, he just screams, climb me, climb me.
These things are always awesome. And the older they get, and the more beat up they are from the desert and the storms and the droughts and everything else, the cooler they look.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of like me, I guess. The older I get, the more grizzled I get, the better I look, right?
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but okay. I paid her to say that.
So I'm looking at this mountain over here, and I like the way the light's falling on it right now. And I don't know if this this camera can pick up that, but the way the light's hitting it and coming down, I think is kind of cool. So I'm gonna try to find a setup shot that looks good with a good foreground. It's the foreground I'm looking for right now. The background's really cool, but the foreground needs a little more than just, I don't know, plains of creosote. Not that I have anything against the lowly creosote tree, and I'm going to make Robert fall over because I'm going through rocky.
It's not like the ground is rough or anything, right? And I'm distracted wondering where on earth the noisy airplane is, and it's so far up I've lost it again. It's way up there in the clouds.
Bro.
It was quite high, but very, very loud.
So I kind of see some swallows. I see a really cool one, good. But I don't know. Robert, you up for a little hike?
Sure.
All right, so let's see if we can find these swallows here that are kind of cool, and the mountain in the background. You know, it's going to take us hours to walk back home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gaia GPS, guys, is your best friend as an app.
Yeah.
I use it almost every day. I do orienteering to kind of find my way around the desert generally, but I always keep our campsite stored in Gaia. And then if I need to double check something or, you know, verify that I'm right or I'm confused, it does a good job of getting me pointing right back in the right direction. I'm trying to walk up this darn wash because it's smoother than the surrounding ground and it's a little bit choppy. So if you're noticing a little shaking that the camera can't overcome with a stabilization, that's why. Because Quartzsite literally has the worst ground I've ever walked on. Well, next to Ironwood. Ironwood's just as bad, I think. Probably. The last spot we were at, we were still in the Sonoran, but it was a lizard.
Lizard!
But it was still a lot smoother than this. It wasn't smooth, but it was smoother than this.
All right, where was that swirl I was looking at? But looking at the ground and then I forget where I'm going. And that happens too out here. You get lost because you're just looking at the ground trying not to
It's surprisingly
fall over.
easy to get lost in the desert, even though it's flat.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the size of this wash.
Yeah.
A pretty cool swirl here, too.
This one looks beat.
Gonna give you guys a better view of these things as they get older. Old man swirl.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely been ATVs through here.
Yeah. Quick note here in the area where we're at. Off-road vehicles are allowed on designated trails, and they're allowed in washes, not anywhere else. I don't understand why they allow them in washes, because the BLM is sleeping on the job and abdicating their responsibility to protect public lands in many, many examples. This is one more. They tell people you can drive on trails, you can drive in washes, but you can't just drive across the desert because it takes years, if not decades, for one set of tracks to fade in the desert. And there's no enforcement out here. There's no rangers looking out for anything. So people come cut through the wash, and then they find an obstacle, and they just drive up through the desert for a few hundred yards or a mile or two, and then go back into a wash or back onto a trail. So BLM, come on, guys. Let's step it up a little bit. And the rest of you who are driving these things, you know, have some responsibility. Be decent human beings, because you will get it shut down for all of you. Just because you have good lobbying so far, it will eventually come back to haunt you.
Not a bad thing to mention and keep people aware. Like you said, they don't watch.
Guys, this video is already turning out longer than we planned it to be. But look at this. This is just so much cool stuff we run into out here. And this is why we like to wander. And you do have to if you're walking, though, because the ground is awful. And there's scorpions and rattlesnakes and holes in the ground. And there's rodents that may dig tunnels through here. And there's a lizard running across there. I always try not to squish them. Yeah, they're kind of small. Another one. My goodness. So I don't know if you guys get to see them on the video or not, because they really blend in very, very well. Those are a couple inches long, 2 or 3 inches long each. Probably 3 inches with a tail, I guess. That's what I usually see here. It's what I usually see in Pahrump. This spring, we made a stop up in Tonopah, Nevada. First time I camped up there. And my goodness, the lizards. I'd never seen so many or so large or such a variety.
Toads, yeah.
It was really, really cool. So I think we probably did a video about that, maybe. I know I put a bunch of photos on Patreon.
I know we had photos.
I didn't do a video. I don't know.
I don't know if we did a video or not.
Look at this poor cat. This is had a bad day. Bad year.
I think that's a choya.
I think it is. I think.
Yeah.
Does not look like he's doing well.
He does look a little burnt on the edges, don't they?
But if you want to know more, you want to know sooner, you can join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/RobertWithham. You can join for as little as $1 a month. And I share all kinds of extra stuff there, as well as behind the scenes stuff and stuff that shows up there before it shows up anywhere else. So if you want to know more, you want to know early, or you just want to support art like this, consider joining us over there for as little as $1 a month. If you want to do a little more, there's additional benefits that come with that. Working on getting that updated to better reflect what I'm doing these days, the work I'm doing these days. But shameless plug, check it out here if you want to know more or you want to know earlier. And I think Melanie's found another subject.
Well, I'm not sure about this clump. Actually, this one's beautiful. These are, I don't know. I haven't decided on these.
Not sure. Ooh, this Palo Verde that looks totally dead has got a fresh branch growing up here. Look at that. The rest of this thing looks dead, dead, dead.
Well, that one
and
branch.
a little bit green over here too.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the other way because you're not going to see it with the sun if I go that way. So. I've taken a few photos recently of scenes like this. You don't see a lot of cracked, dried mud in the desert, but occasionally you'll find a sandy spot along a wash or where a low spot where the water runs when it rains. It carries the sand in, and because this is all rock, right? And the reason that is because the wind and the rain, when it comes, carry away all the dirt. And it's a sand and rock mix ground, and when it carries the dirt, the wind and the water carry the dirt away, the sand, into the low areas, and so you end up with just rocks everywhere else. And this is a case where you get a little water here and it dries out and it just cracks, and it's just kind of cool looking. But this is the other branch Melanie was pointing out over here. That the whole tree mostly looks dead, but this one's still green and leafless. So, and she's still studying this cacti clump for a composition. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me if multiple cactus or cacti and multiple alumnus or alumni are multiple Prius prii. Nobody's answered me that question yet.
We'll have to ask Toyota there. See if they'd be interested in answering that
Get
question.
hold of Mr. Toyota and ask him, huh?
Mr. Toyota, yeah. All right, so I kind of like this. It's like classic Arizona.
Classic Arizona. There you go. And we are in Arizona, so, I mean, classic Arizona is good. This is the classic Arizona cactus. And it's a cactus because there's only one of them. And Melanie's back here trying to frame up a composition. I'm trying to back away across the desert to get them all in the same video clip here and not break a leg or otherwise embarrass myself.
Yes, please don't break a leg. It's a long way back to camp. All right, I kind of like that. This might blur out, but I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Things around my neck, I guess.
Don't get too close. This old man hasn't shaved his whiskers in a while. I absolutely love Swirl. They're just so cool. Maybe partly because I'm a Yankee, so they're a real novelty. I remember the first time I got to see them, made a trip down to Tucson, Arizona. Oh, man. Going back a few years now. My son and daughter-in-law got married down there. That's where she was from. They did the wedding there. And I got there a couple days early, and the Swirl was just mind-blowing. And then I had a chance, I found on the map, the Swirl National Monument. It's in two parts, east and west of Tucson. I went to the east one, and you're coming down this hill into this valley, and you come down, and it's just swirls everywhere. And the desert's kind of barren looking if you don't know better. I know better now. It's like being on another planet, is all I could think. Really, really cool experience. So I've loved swirls ever since. And yeah, they are classic Arizona for sure. Well, Melanie was talking earlier about the nursery trees. And here's a little cholla cactus growing under the protection of a smallish creosote, not too big still. And if you come over here to this little creosote bush, here's another cholla, and there's yet another one way under there. And you come over to this creosote bush, and there's, well, that looks like it might have broken off or something, doesn't it?
A dead one over here.
Well, we got a dead one right over here.
So it might have just rolled. These are all leavings,
yeah,
probably, that rolled off from this one.
This cholla might have been the nursery plant for the creosote. This little creosote is not very big, but it's old by the stems. You can tell it's old. So these have been here together for a while too. That's kind of a good example anyway. And over here we have the same thing. A creosote and a now dead cholla together. So I guess the cholla was here first. But you often find this, 2 or 3 or more plants growing together. We did a video just recently where there's about a half a dozen or more plants that we found all in one little vegetation island in the middle of the desert here.
So I'm going to take a picture of this. It's a, what do we call it, strawberry hedgehog cactus. So they're a little bit different. They have, I think they all kind of start from the same clump, and then you have these little cactuses that come out, but they have very spiny spines, of course, like most cactus. And yeah, what did you say? It can get up to
about 10 inches, I think. So they don't get too tall.
They don't get too tall, but so you gotta watch for them when you're walking around. But texturally, I love it. I love all the spininess. So I'm not sure if it's gonna come out, but oh, it just said goodbye. Let me turn it back on. Oh, it's still saying goodbye. So I have a feeling we're either out of power or out of memory on the memory card.
Uh-oh. That thing uses AA batteries, so we can't just recharge it. So it's possible it ran out of batteries.
Yeah, it's not going to take a picture of it for me. So anyways, I like macro photography. I guess that's something I'm interested in. I like the textures and all looking at things on small scale and seeing what they actually look like, because they can look very different on up close than from a farther distance. So
yeah, the camera's a little challenging for you because it doesn't get very close. It doesn't really do macro.
no. The iPhone does really good, but
It does. That's something new with this. I
Yeah.
believe with this generation of 13s, it's got a macro mode that's pretty impressive. This is not something you see often. This poor swirl got uprooted. Looks like there was quite a flood here. And what you don't see very often is a swirl being uprooted. Usually they break off near the ground or in the first couple of feet above the ground and heal over from there. Don't know that I've ever seen one uprooted like this.
Yeah, I've never seen
So it
that.
must have been kind of cruddy soil. Well, as if any soil here is not cruddy, but you know. But you see this is here, and there's a cholla clump there, and all kinds of dead branches, and more cholla clumps and more dead branches. So another swirl down over there. So it looks like there's a wash starting here, and along the sandy strip. That's not a deep one yet, but it's starting there, and it looks like it probably eroded the soil where this swirl was growing, is my guess, because I've never seen one uprooted like this.
You know I have to touch it. They're pretty sturdy.
So apparently the AA or AAA batteries or whatever in the little $5 vintage thrift store camera have expired. And I did not think to bring any spares with us. So that's going to be the end of this adventure. I suppose we got a fair bit of footage and whatnot anyway, so that's pretty cool. We're going to make our way back towards camp, see if we can find it. We don't even know where we're going. I may have to look up the GPS because I've been too busy filming to pay attention this time. But we found some fun stuff. We hope you enjoyed seeing all this stuff. And I'm afraid this whole thing, though, Melanie was into photography many years ago, she tells me.
I did. My mom had a 35 millimeter, old school, and I love just setting up little vignettes or whatever, or taking pictures of things, or yeah.
Yeah, so she also had an early digital camera, probably even older than this one, I guess, what she tells me. And so she's getting interested in it again now, though, guys.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to cost me money bringing her out with a $5 camera, getting her taking pictures, because, you know.
Yeah, I even there was a local man in town who did black and white, his own developing, and so
Ooh,
he
hardcore.
He had a developer, everything. So black room, and so yeah, so that was neat, just to take a picture and then see it come alive. That was before digital, so you didn't know what you were getting. You just kind of hoped something could come out.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I took some film pictures over the years, but I didn't really get into photography seriously till the digital age. So that's kind of what I know. I am, like I was saying earlier, I am definitely adding in an instant film camera very shortly. And I've been kicking around the idea of trying film just to round things out for the experience and the adventure and all that stuff. So we'll see how that goes. And my goodness, more holes. These burrows all over the place in the desert. You never know who lives there.
Yeah.
We'll give them a berth, and wide berth, and as wide a berth as we can with the vegetation all the way, and be on our way. But you know, anyway, more of this to come. I have a feeling Melanie's going to want to be doing more photos in the future too. She's definitely been a huge help to me, helping out with assisting with the video stuff. Changes the game in terms of the content I can reasonably put out. So if you're appreciating all this new stuff, be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment. Let Melanie know you appreciate all her help with this stuff. And meanwhile, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, so you'll be notified, hopefully, if YouTube does its thing, when we publish new content, which is multiple times a week typically. Travel-related stuff, scenery, nature, all that kind of fun things. And right now we're in the Sonoran Desert, so you'll be seeing plenty of more stuff coming from the Sonoran. And that's it for this video. We'll catch you in the next video, everybody.
Don't hug a swirl. Ask me how I know.